Back to Urban X Files. My name is Keith, and today I am going to discuss a very intriguing tale of some entity with glowing eyes. And this story takes us back to the 70s when it was the month of Halloween. And one evening there was a middle aged lady who left an cinema in town, and she worked there as the what's it called, with the ticket lady. She was a ticket lady, and she lived not too far from the city centre, so she decided to have a walk home, and she walked down a particular busy road, and she said that she had the unsettling sensation of being watched or followed. And for those of you that have ever experienced something like this, when you can feel the eyes peering in the back of your head, you know someone's there watching, but yet you can't find anyone. Well, this was the very same thing our friend in the story experienced. And she couldn't decide where this was coming from. So for some reason she felt that this eerie, creepy, peeping, stalking type of person was hiding somewhere around, and she felt, whether she called it mother's intuition or just some sort of spider sense, she carried on walking, but she sort of tried to keep to the side of the road with all the lights on. And as she continued walking, she walked past the school, and she continued to pick up her pace because the wind began to blow and create a very uncomfortable setting for where she was. And for some reason, this particular road was normally a very busy road, but on this night, it was a very quiet, lonely road, with the leaves being blown into the autumn night. So she instantly regretted her decision to walk home. She said as she crossed the road past the school, she said that she could see these strange, glowing, orange eyes, which she thought was some light from... She couldn't quite think of what it was. She said the only thing it reminded her of is cat's eyes that you see in the road when light shine upon them, it glows. And this was the same thing. She could see these orange eyes staring towards her. Now, she didn't run away because she thought they were either part of some pieces of equipment or of a dog or something. And she said that it looked like these lights were hovering, but she noted that they did look like a pair of eyes from the way they were positioned away from each other. So as she continued to walk down the road, she came closer to these glowing eyes, and she realized that these was in fact glowing eyes. She could make out a shadow of a figure that was not three-dimensional, and this shadow had glowing orange eyes. She shivered with nerves, and she ran right across the road without even looking because she was that scared. Her heart was pounding in her chest. She could not understand what had just happened. So after she managed to cross the road at a very fast speed, legging it as fast as she can, she did not look back. It's only when she come to the next junction on a road that she looked back, and to her astonishment and fearful way, these eyes had followed her. she froze because she didn't know what to do. She was at a point where she just wanted to collapse on the floor, lay down, and hope this thing, whatever it was, would be merciful and not hurt her. As she was about to collapse onto the floor, she noticed that she'd seen another person walking towards her from the opposite direction, and this gave her her second wind, and she ran towards this person. So she gets to this person, and it turns out it was a friend of her mum's, and she runs over to this lady and tells this lady what she's just witnessed. She said, "Oh, it's okay, dear. I don't want to frighten you, love, but you're not the only person who's told me this story walking along this stretch of road on this awful cold night. I've heard a few of my friends share this experience with me and other members of family." So she took her into, she walked her home, and they went into the house and had a nice cup of tea, because in Britain, a cup of tea is something that seems to fix everything. And they discussed what she'd seen. And her friend turned around and said that she believed her and she'd seen them herself, but the previous year. So she decided to go to church that Sunday. She goes to church and she sits through the service and listens to the priest. After the church service this Sunday, the priest, after the service is finished, the priest would go outside and shake hands and speak to all his parishioners as they leave to carry on with their Sunday. So she waited till everyone had spoke to the priest and they'd gone off on a merry way, and she asked the priest for some advice. "Father, I've had this terrible experience. Something happened that really, really frightened me, and I don't really want to talk about it. Now, it's very strange, and I thought maybe I was hallucinating to what I experienced, but my mum's friend also witnessed the same thing the year before, and I was just wondering if you could maybe give me a blessing of some sort, or give me some protection. I'm really frightened." So the priest was like, "Right, okay." He didn't ask any questions because he was in a bit of a rush. So he made the sign of the cross with her and made a blessing. And he said, "Next time something happens, say the Lord's Prayer out loud, Our Father. Then you can close your eyes and then imagine that a white light is filled around you, and this should protect you." So she went away with her new weapon, the light of God. So, well, a few weeks later gone by, she was walking down another road where she bumped into another friend who was quite upset, and her friend shared her experience with the lady and had said about these orange eyes, and she said that she felt like she'd just seen a ghost, because she tried to put it to the back of the mind, yet another person she knew had seen them. So that's 3 people she knew, including herself, who'd seen these evil orange eyes. So these eyes were not fixed to this specific stretch of road, for each person had seen them at different places and at different times. So there is some entity that is walking around the streets with these evil eyes. Over the, say, a few years, there was small like newspaper reports where they had like a column where they like report all kinds of spooky things that had gone on, and there is a local paranormal expert who used to give advice on what these things was, and for a number of years these were reported, and he'd make a story on them, and he'd find different people who had experienced these eyes, and they seemed to die down. They'd sort of vanished. So we fast forward a few decades later, when October come round again. It was early October, and there was a young female who was sat watching some TV to pass the time while her husband was out working, and these shifts seemed to cover nights and made it all the more lonely, especially as the dark nights fast closed in. She sat flicking through the different channels, and her daughter was woken up, startled, and began to scream in the night. So she ran up the stairs to see what was the matter with her daughter. Not to think it was anything to worry about, just that she'd woke up, startled, and needed her mum. So she entered the bedroom, and as she walked in, there, in the window, were what looked like two LED lights shining through. Except these weren't LED lights. They were too close together and looked like a pair of eyes. And they had like a very crimson look to them. So as she seen these lights staring in through the window, she paused for a moment, thinking somebody was playing a prank. And she went over to the window, thinking that some kids were shining things and different things through the window, and lifted the curtains ready to bang and shout at the kids. Except when she lifted the curtain, she was met with the horrible gaze of the shadow figure with piercing orange eyes. She stood there with her face frozen in fear, as she could see this entity outside the bedroom window of her little girl. She recoiled in shock, bent down and grabbed her daughter, and without a moment's hesitation, she ran down the stairs and straight to the front door, bolted it shut, and she telephoned one of her family members, making sure that all the windows and doors in the house had been shut and locked tight, for fear that this evil-eyed entity would make its way into her residence. She said that she tried to, when she explained it to her family, they said, it could have possibly been the reflection of a car's brake lights. But she knew only too well what she witnessed that night when she went into her daughter's bedroom. Those eyes that she'd seen that were glowing in the night had only been too real. Sometime later, she gained her courage to go back up to her daughter's bedroom to take a peek outside of the bedroom window. As she crept up the stairs, she entered her daughter's bedroom, and seconds later, those eyes crept back into focus, and the eyes made contact with the baby's mum's, where she stared and froze in horror. So she immediately ran out of the room, and this time she called her husband and ordered him to come home from work. So he said that he couldn't come home right away, but he will get off as soon as it's possible to do so. So the following day had come, and before she'd even mentioned this incident to anybody else outside of her house, she'd only rang her parents and her husband. Her neighbour came knocking to see if she was okay, and she was a bit taken back as the neighbour asked, "Did you see them too?" "See which?" "Those weird orange eyes. We had an intruder that was looking into our bedroom window with these weird coloured eyes, but when we realised that the eyes weren't on the ground floor, it was as if they were hovering above our window looking upstairs, and we couldn't find out what it was, who it was, where it was, and it was only when we looked outside we seen the silhouette of a shadow above your house with those eyes looking through the back bedroom window where your little girl's bedroom is." So she was horrified, but she was kind of happy that she had also witnessed these evil eyes staring through the window, as she wasn't losing her mind. So always be cautious when walking around the streets of Liverpool after dark in the month of October. Who knows why these eyes on this entity appear only in the month of October? Well, what we do know now is that throughout the decades, these eyes have been seen by many people from all ages, shapes and sizes. These eyes have been reported to be around Highton. They've also been seen in Chilwell. They've also been seen in Allerton and various other parts of the city. So we are not sure if these eyes have ventured out into other cities, but in Liverpool, these eyes are still seen to this very day. Who do those evil eyes belong to? If any of you guys have seen these evil eyes, please comment down below. It will be interesting to see if anyone else has been a victim to these evil eyes. Take care and see you in the next video.